My parents have had an open marriage since I was a kid and it made me a mess, so I moved out and didn't speak to them for almost 4 years. Now, I told them everything that I felt growing up. I, 25M, grew up with parents, 48F and 52M, who had an open marriage. When I was around 12, I found out that my parents liked to play around, if you can call it that. I didn't know what it really meant until I was 14. Anyways, I kept my mouth shut and focused on myself. Then I moved out when I was 18, and we have barely spoken since. I ended up becoming very insecure as I grew up. I struggled when it came to dating and girls and was alone for most of my teens. Mom and dad were this perfect couple that was well liked by everyone. All I can remember is how alone I felt during the time I lived with them, and how I was too afraid to speak to my parents about how bad I had it. They were always smiling and seemed to have the perfect marriage while they saw other people, while I felt alone and miserable. They used to go on weekend trips. I was alone for many weekends since they rarely brought me along for vacations, and I ended up being on my own when they did bring me as well. I struggle with depression and started seeing a therapist and am on antidepressants right now. I just felt like I did not matter to my parents at all and see no real reason for why I should talk to them now. I have not celebrated Christmas with them, and I've not been at home since I was 19 because I honestly have nothing but bad memories from living with them. I just felt like I was in the way. They've been asking me why exactly I haven't spoken to them in almost 4 years, and I don't know what to say because I never really felt like their child. Not sure what I should do, my emotions are all over the place. I don't think they know I struggle with depression. Update 1. I decided to write a letter, but ended up using that letter as reference to what I wanted to say to them instead. I wrote the letter and actually just planned to drop it in their mailbox and just let them read it, but honestly, after so many years, I needed to have a conversation with them, so I did. I went home and, I wasn't even surprised, Dad and Mom had a friend over. It was a woman who I ran into a few days ago, let's call her Claire. I knew her when I was a child. They were just sitting in the living room, just talking. I asked Claire politely to leave because I needed to speak to my parents. She said sure and she left, and my parents understood I had something to discuss so they didn't argue. Apparently, they were talking about me, and Claire actually came over because she was worried about me after I basically ignored her the other day when I ran into her. I sat down with my parents and had the letter I had written, and they understood I had a lot to say. The whole thing was weird. I sounded like a prosecutor trying to convince a jury of all my parents' wrongdoings. It ended up being a 40-minute indictment of my parents. I went through all of it, how alone I felt, how I struggle with depression, how I'm seeing a therapist, how I'm on antidepressants, how, since I was 11, I've been feeling that I was in the way, that I never mattered to them and that other people were always more important, how Claire, who was the same age I am now when she started hanging around with them, actually gave more of a damn than they did, how Dad yelled at me when I messed up the settings on the dishwasher while he were away. I was 11 and did not know how it worked and that I offered to wash them by hand, which I did. I told them I was bullied in school and was socially awkward, had no friends and was always alone both at school and at home. I told them I was 11 and had to deal with being alone on the weekends, even Christmas was weird and awkward. I remember seeing families light Christmas trees in our street, but they went to their Christmas get-togethers. They were home on Christmas Day itself, but I honestly felt alone then as well. I have no such memories or felt any belonging whatsoever, and now they kept asking me why I have barely spoken to them for 4 years. I told them I don't know them and they never bothered to get to know me because other people were always more important. When I found out and understood what they were into, I was even more mad. Why was that more important than me? I asked them how it was fair that they are happy and I am alone and miserable. It's not fair because they did this to me. I have spent my childhood alone, my teens alone, and now my 20s alone. So far, I have never had a girlfriend because I struggle to trust people and have no idea how to get close to them. My dad once shared a picture of me on Facebook, one of the few of us together from when I was a kid. I saw Claire and his other GF comment on how cute I was and what a great family we were. I asked him if he noticed anything in those pictures. I asked him if he noticed that I had never smiled. I asked them why they even had me to begin with. Clearly, I was just a prop for them to show off, to let others know what great parents they were. I told them their Facebook profiles make me sick, to be honest. My dad wanted to say something and Mom just looked stunned, with tears in her eyes. I just got up and left, and that was that. I never yelled or called them any names. I was surprisingly calm. I honestly felt numb walking out, but also a lot lighter. I left my spare key to their place and just walked back to my place. My mom has been texting and trying to call me. I think they are both struggling on what to say to me. I just demanded they remove the pictures of me from their Facebook, which they did. They do not get to pretend to the world like they were great parents anymore. I refuse to be a prop. Update 2. I decided to switch therapists and the new one is better than my old one. I'm still dealing with anxiety and feel very lonely sometimes, but I'm trying to get through the days. I had a long talk with my mom, who actually decided to stop by my place. She and I talked for almost 3 hours. I decided not to berate her and instead just be honest. I explained how my life has been and how I am dealing with a bunch of things. It was as honest as it could get, with me basically just sharing how I was doing. She didn't realize how bad it was and she just gave me a hug. I don't know why, but that helped. She was not sure what to say about everything and I don't really blame her. She asked me to come home for a while, especially at Christmas, so I don't have to sit in my apartment alone. I told her I would think about it. She looks like she finally realized that I had been in pain for quite some time and her recognizing that is what I really wanted. She finally got it. It's progress, I guess. I'm still not sure what the future holds. I still feel very apathetic and my anxiety can get the best of me sometimes. I have had days where I feel very low, like nothing matters anymore, but I guess it's a step in the right direction.